Caroline Matthews had learned to laugh at herself over the years. At 32, she'd been on enough bad dates to fill a comedy special, and her co-workers at the advertising firm knew it. So when they suggested setting her up on a blind date, she should have known better. "Come on, Caroline," her colleague Denise had said, barely suppressing a smirk. "He's perfect for you. Successful, handsome, has a daughter. What could go wrong?" Everything, as it turned out. Because what Denise hadn't mentioned was that this was their idea of entertainment, setting up the office's perpetually single graphic designer with someone completely out of her league just to watch her squirm. Caroline stood in the lobby of Marcello's, the most expensive restaurant in town, smoothing down her simple blush-colored dress. It was the nicest thing she owned, bought on sale 3 years ago. Her honey blonde hair fell in soft waves past her shoulders, and she'd spent an hour on makeup that she hoped looked natural. Around her, women glittered in designer gowns and jewels that probably cost more than her car. She was about to leave when she heard Denise's voice behind her, loud and deliberately cruel. "Oh my God, Caroline actually showed up! This is going to be hilarious." Caroline turned to see her co-workers clustered near the bar, phones out ready to document her humiliation. Her cheeks burned, but she held her head high. She'd give them nothing. "Looking for someone?" The voice was deep, warm. Caroline turned to find herself looking up at a man who seemed to have stepped out of a magazine. He was tall, dark-haired, with touches of distinguished gray at the temples, wearing a navy suit that was clearly custom-made. His dark eyes held both confidence and something else, a weariness that spoke of late nights and heavy responsibilities. Yes, Caroline managed. "But I think there's been a mistake." "Are you Caroline?" When she nodded, his expression softened. "Then there's no mistake. I'm Daniel Russo." Behind her, Caroline heard Denise's shocked whisper. "That's Daniel Russo, the Daniel Russo, CEO of Russo Enterprises." Oh my God. Daniel's eyes flickered past Caroline to the group at the bar, and his jaw tightened slightly. But when he looked back at her, his expression was kind. "Shall we?" Caroline followed him into the restaurant proper, her mind reeling. This had to be part of the joke, didn't it? Men who looked like Daniel Russo didn't go on blind dates with women like her. They were shown to a table near the windows, and Caroline tried to steady her breathing. The restaurant was beautiful, all soft lighting and elegant simplicity, with the city lights twinkling beyond the glass. "I should be honest with you," Daniel said once they were seated. "I almost didn't come tonight. My assistant set this up. She's been worried about me. Says I work too much." He smiled, and it transformed his serious face. "My daughter agrees with her." "You have a daughter?" Caroline asked, grateful for the neutral topic. His whole demeanor changed, softening with unmistakable love. "Emma, she's 6. The light of my life." He pulled out his phone, showing Caroline a picture of a beautiful little girl with dark curly hair and her father's warm eyes. "Lost my wife 3 years ago. Cancer. It's been... Emma and I, we're figuring it out as we go." Caroline felt something shift in her chest. The practiced lines she'd prepared for polite first-date conversation evaporated. "I'm so sorry," she said softly. "That must be incredibly hard." "It is," he admitted. "But Emma, she keeps me going. Reminds me why I do what I do." He looked at Caroline with unexpected directness. "What about you? What's your story?" And somehow, in that elegant restaurant where she didn't belong, Caroline found herself talking. Really talking. She told him about growing up in a small town in Ohio, about her mother who'd raised her alone after her father left, about working her way through design school while waitressing at night. She told him about her love of old movies and how she volunteered at the children's hospital on weekends, teaching art classes to kids going through treatment. "It reminds me that beauty can exist anywhere," she said, "even in hard places. Maybe especially there." Daniel listened with an intensity that made her feel like she was the only person in the room. He asked questions, laughed at her stories, shared his own. He told her about building his company from nothing, about the pressure and the responsibility, about how sometimes he felt like he was losing himself in the role of CEO and forgetting how to just be Daniel, just be dad. "Emma deserves better," he said quietly. "She deserves a father who's present, not just someone who shows up for bedtime and signs permission slips." She deserves exactly what she has, Caroline said firmly. A father who loves her enough to worry about being better. That's not nothing, Daniel. That's everything. Their food arrived, but neither of them noticed much. The conversation flowed like they'd known each other for years, not hours. Caroline forgot about her coworkers, forgot about the joke, forgot to be self-conscious. Daniel made her feel seen in a way she'd never experienced before, like her thoughts and opinions actually mattered. They were lingering over coffee when a commotion near the entrance caught their attention. A little girl in a pink tulle dress broke free from a flustered-looking older woman and raced through the restaurant. "Daddy!" Daniel's face lit up as Emma launched herself at him. He caught her easily, pulling her into his lap. "Emma, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be home with Mrs. Patterson." "I wanted to see you," Emma said, then noticed Caroline. Her eyes went wide. "Are you Daddy's friend?" "This is Caroline," Daniel said, his hand gentle on his daughter's back. "Caroline, this is Emma, who was supposed to be in bed an hour ago." Mrs. Patterson arrived, breathless and apologetic. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Russo. She insisted." "Said she had to bring you something." Emma held up a small pink rose, slightly crushed from her grip. "For your lady friend, so she knows we like her." Caroline felt tears prick her eyes. She accepted the rose carefully. "Thank you, Emma. That's the sweetest thing anyone's ever given me." Emma smiled, then whispered loudly to her father, "She's pretty, Daddy, and she has kind eyes." "Like Mommy did." Daniel's throat worked, but he managed to smile. "She does, doesn't she?" From across the restaurant, Caroline could see her co-workers watching. Their expressions no longer mocking, but shocked. Denise's mouth was literally hanging open. Daniel stood, Emma in his arms, and looked at Caroline with an expression she couldn't quite read. Around them, other diners had started to notice, conversations fading to whispers. "Caroline," Daniel said, and his voice carried through the suddenly quiet restaurant. "I know this is crazy. I know we just met, but I've built a fortune on trusting my instincts, and right now, every instinct I have is telling me that you're someone special, that you're someone who could help me remember how to be more than just a CEO, someone who could help Emma and me become a real family again." He set Emma down gently and reached into his jacket pocket. The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. "So I'm going to do something completely insane." He pulled out a small velvet box. "This was my grandmother's ring. I've been carrying it for 3 years, waiting for the right moment, the right person. And I think that person is you." Caroline's hand flew to her mouth. "Daniel, I know," he said quickly. "I'm not asking you to marry me tonight. I'm asking if you'd be willing to take a chance, to see where this goes, to let me court you properly, the way you deserve." He opened the box, revealing a vintage ring with a single perfect diamond surrounded by smaller stones. "Consider this a promise that I'll spend, as long as it takes proving to you that what I feel right now isn't crazy. It's the first truly sane thing I've done in 3 years." Emma tugged on Caroline's dress. "Please say yes," she whispered. "Daddy's been sad for so long, but he smiled more tonight than I've seen in forever." Caroline looked at this little girl so full of hope. She looked at Daniel, successful and powerful but vulnerable in this moment, offering her not just a ring but a chance at something real. And she thought about her co-workers, who'd set this up as a joke, never imagining it could become something beautiful. "I can't accept the ring," Caroline said finally. The disappointment in Daniel's eyes nearly broke her heart. "Not yet, but," she took his hand, "I can accept the promise. I can accept the chance, and I can promise you something too, that I'll be honest with you, that I'll show up, and that I'll never play games with your heart or Emma's." Daniel's smile was brighter than all the lights in the restaurant. He slipped the ring back into his pocket and instead produced his phone. "Then how about we start with your number and a second date? Maybe somewhere Emma can come too?" "The zoo," Emma said immediately. "We should go to the zoo." Caroline laughed, the sound bright and free. "The zoo sounds perfect." As they exchanged numbers, as Emma chattered excitedly about the monkeys they'd see, Caroline caught sight of Denise and the others. They weren't laughing anymore. They were witnessing something they'd never expected, proof that sometimes life writes better stories than any joke. That kindness and authenticity can open doors that games and cruelty never could. Daniel walked Caroline to her car, Emma between them, holding both their hands. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for giving us a chance, for not running away when I did something completely insane." "It wasn't insane," Caroline said. "It was brave. And I think," she smiled at Emma, then back at him, "I think brave is exactly what I've been looking for." She drove home with a pink rose on her passenger seat and a message already, waiting on her phone. "Sweet dreams, Caroline. Emma and I can't wait for Saturday. D." The next Monday at work, Denise approached her desk cautiously. "Caroline, we need to talk." "About how you tried to humiliate me?" Caroline kept her voice level. "I know what you did, Denise." "What you all did?" "I'm sorry," Denise said, and she actually looked it. "It was cruel. We thought, I don't know what we thought, but seeing you with him, seeing how he looked at you," she shook her head. "You deserve that. You deserve all of it. And I'm sorry I tried to take it away before it even started." Caroline considered her for a long moment. "I forgive you," she said finally. "But Denise, don't ever underestimate the power of genuine kindness again. It opens doors that tricks and games never could." 6 months later, Caroline would accept that ring in a quiet ceremony at the zoo with Emma as flower girl. But that night at Marcello's, standing in a restaurant full of strangers who'd witnessed something extraordinary, she learned the most important lesson of all, that sometimes the setup designed to make you look foolish becomes the beginning of your greatest joy, that love doesn't follow timelines or rules, and that the bravest thing you can do is remain open to possibility, even when everyone expects you to close your heart. And somewhere she knew Daniel's grandmother was smiling, knowing her ring had finally found its way to exactly the right hand.